This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What is up, everybody? Happy Draft Lottery Day. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Huston Ream with you for the next couple of hours. We've got a lot to get to today. John Shannon is going to be joining us to hit all the big topics around the National Hockey League, the Leafs hiring, the Canucks opening, tonight's draft lottery, and, of course, the Stanley Cup playoffs a little later on. Jeff Hamilton of the Winnipeg Free Press will hit some hockey topics, some CFL topics, and more. And then finishing up the program, we're going to get ready for Goldeyes season. Home opener, May 19th. Some big improvements to the ballpark. We'll look ahead to the season and find out what the team's up to as they hit the road for the preseason right now with the GM, Andrew Collier. After that, our good friend Jake Bolan-Moss, disgruntled Leaf fan, will come on just to explain to us how he is expecting the inevitable of the Leafs getting jumped by a team like the Winnipeg Jets, possibly pushing them back from 5 to 6 and having the Boston Bruins pick at 6 as opposed to Toronto being on the clock at 5. That, of course, part of the Brandon Carlo trade. The first-round pick that was sent over was only top 5 protected. We're going to talk a lot of draft lottery today, I'm sure. We've got a fun power poll coming up in the first segment to get to of teams that we do not want to win the draft lottery. But let me be the first to tell you, folks, that this is not going to be the only live stream we do today on WST, because at 6 o'clock sharp, maybe even a little bit before, Connor Rabchak and myself will be firing it up, and we will be doing a live watch-along stream for the draft lottery today. And would love to see you guys all hanging out with us in the chat. Hopefully, this will create some wonderful, memorable, amazing viral moments with our live reactions to the Jets winning the draft lottery. I'd take number 2, no problem. That being said, there's a lot on the line tonight. So if you're kicking around later on today, 6 o'clock, throw the YouTube on, jump in the chat, have some fun with us as we unveil the draft lottery winners and the draft order for the draft coming up in June a little later on. As you can see on the screen right now, the Jets go into tonight with a 6.5% chance of winning the number 1 overall pick, a similar total to get the number 2 overall pick, a 0.2% chance of the number 3 pick, a 44% chance of the number 7 pick, I think 36 or so odd of the 8th pick, and like 4 or 5% on 9. If you're wondering about the 3rd pick, by the way, it's very confusing. But this was pointed out to me when I said, the Jets could pick 1, 2, 7, 8, or 9. And I can't remember who it was. My guy Advin sent this to me last night, but we'd actually talked about this a couple times before. If the Winnipeg Jets get the number 2 spot, and the New York, I believe it's the Devils, who are the 12 team. If they win either the 1 or 2 pick, they would win the 1 pick in this scenario because the Jets would be in it too. Teams can only move up 10 spots. So if you're 12th, 13th, 14th, the best you can do is just move up 10. So in the scenario would be the Jets would be at number 2, and then the lottery winner would be, I believe it's the Devils, that would go from 12 to 2, which would push the Jets back to 3. Again, 0.2% chance. But it is a possibility for tonight. It should be fun. Connor and I will have fun getting your comments and live reaction as we get going. So make a point of joining us tonight at 6 p.m. Listen, we got to get into it. I want to get Remo in here. I love it. Biff Spliff. The vibes are there. We go in top 3. I mean, realistically, it could be top 2. But anyways, here we go. I want to thank all of our sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at CoolBet. If you go to CoolBet and click on the NHL specials or the NHL draft lottery, 12-1 on the Jets to win the lottery. So I'm putting a little sprinkle on it, trying to manifest not only a win at CoolBet, but a win for our team. Also want to thank Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, Clean Line, Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, the Tri-Hospital Lottery. Don't forget, Friday is the spring bonus deadline. Get on over and get your tickets now to be eligible for everything, including the record-breaking amount of early bird prizes. TryHospitalDream.com. Manitoba Battery, Aikens Lake, Breezy Bend, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, Travel Manitoba, the Winnipeg Goldeyes, Assiniboia Downs, Roley's Transfer, and Dr. Terry and our friends at the St. Patel Dental Center. And, of course, we will get to a Why Not question of the day for not Autocorp, but Waverly and McGillivray. Michael Remis, we've been waiting for May 5th, and it is finally here. There will be clarity as to where the Jets pick tonight after the draft lottery.
Yeah, reason for optimism. You have a chance for the lottery, and whether the Jets pick, 1 or 2 or 7, it feels like this year's draft, the top 7, you get a very, very strong player. So we're hoping that no one jumps ahead of them. But this is an exciting moment for the franchise. Haven't picked in the top 10 for a while, and the Jets, whoever this prospect is, I think will be their number 1 prospect now. And I think there's certainly a lot of excitement here as the Jets out of those playoffs, had this disappointing season, and have an opportunity to get someone who could be in the organization for a really long time.
Hard to believe it's been 10 years since the 2016 draft lottery, where the Jets moved up to number 2 in the Matthews line a year. Like, I'll be honest, I haven't felt the same stakes with this lottery as I did that year. Maybe it's because, obviously, the team's in a very different spot right now. Similar in the standings. The Jets finished, they were in the 6 hole that year and moved up to 2. This year, they're in the 7. I think the other side of it is that, with all due respect to McKenna and Stenberg and the other players, it doesn't seem like it's a Celebrini, a Crosby, a complete franchise-changing player that's available if you win the lottery. That being said, you'd love to get one of those players. It would be phenomenal for the Winnipeg Jets. Do you remember where you were for the 2016 lottery, Reem?
You asked me this last week. I think I was doing a show with Rick and whoever. I think I was doing a lottery show in studio. I don't remember. I remember being at the draft where I was when they drafted Laine. I was at the Bomber Stadium. But I do not remember. I think I was in studio. I'd have to ask Rick if we did a show.
Yeah, I think there'll be Jet fans that'll be either hopefully at home throwing YouTube on and hanging out with us and sweating it out together. I was at the Santa Lucia on Corden in the bar, and as the moment I'll always remember is when it got to the Jets spot where they were supposed to be, and they flipped over. I believe it was the Calgary Flames, which meant that at that point they were picking 3 teams, so they were guaranteed of being in the top 3. And then 3 turned over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Everybody went crazy. Every dude on the other side of the spot in the dining room with their families or girlfriends was ditching the table and coming in to see what the commotion was about. And then, of course, the Jets were shown to be number 2 as the Leafs won the lottery. So 10 years later, maybe we can get a little more lottery magic tonight. Sure would be a lot of fun to get to. I want to get to our Chud's Power Sports Power Poll in just a minute on teams that we do not want to win the draft lottery tonight. Fun night, though, in the NHL, Reem. Big OT win, comeback win for the Carolina Hurricanes to take a 2-0 lead over the Philadelphia Flyers, and first blood for Vegas against Anaheim on somewhat of a controversial icing call that led to a big goal late for the Vegas Golden Knights as they get first blood against the Ducks.
Yeah, solid night of hockey, and Carolina, for the first time, they didn't have a lead. They were trailing. It was the Flyers who went up 2-0, but credit to the Hurricanes who stuck with it. Nikolai Ehlers with his first of the playoffs. Seemed like every Carolina goal was coming from the Blake, Stankoven, Taylor Hall line, and there was Ehlers on the power play, and there he was again, setting up Seth Jarvis for the tying goal halfway through the third period. And did you see Seth Jarvis's boys, the good old Canadian boys? They were fired up for that one in the crowd. And Taylor Hall, who's had an incredible playoffs with the overtime winner. So they're up 2-0. Feels like that was Philadelphia's opportunity to try to stay in the series. I think it's going to be tough for them. However, they do have 2 games at home, so you never know what could happen here. And Vegas getting off to the start, you wondered how would Anaheim come in. And it's shocker that the Ducks were only to score 1 goal after that series that we saw against Edmonton, where there were so many goals on each side. Vegas and Torrell playing some tight D, and as you said, bit of a controversy on the go-ahead goal by Barbashev off that waved-off icing call.
Yeah, as I said, we'll talk more about this when John comes on with us. I see it's your boy Bruce. Jets were on the up that year, and now it feels like they're kind of just spinning their wheels. But this could be great for the future. I think it's important, and Bruce is my guy, so I'll just focus on this comment. But I hear a lot of that, and listen, there's no doubt that last year was a brutal year. There was a lot of things that went wrong for the team, and I understand people not being satisfied with where they are. I'm certainly not. But when you think back to 2016, 2015, the Jets made the playoffs with a 99-point season. They dropped 21 points in the standings that year. And if you recall, speaking of tanking and all of that, they shut a few guys down. The Jets won the final 4 games of the regular season that year and were only 3 points out of being third in the order heading into the draft lottery. So, those wins, as opposed to how they finished this year, were potentially going to really screw a pick in what was thought as a generational draft. But and everyone's going to have their take on the roster right now and everything that needs to happen. But, I was just talking with Dusty, in Edmonton on the Lock Shop, and we were comparing where all these all the Canadian teams are right now. And there's Montreal, and they've gone through a really tough few years, but they are on the rise. They've sort of arrived. And if you're ranking the Canadian teams for the next few years, it's Montreal, Gap, and then you can make the arguments for Edmonton, just based on the star power. Ottawa, the roster they've had, they got to deal with Tkachuk. The Jets, some very good players, signed to good contracts, but what about the rest of them? I guess if we spend a lot of time just reading Twitter, I think it seems worse than it is. And I'll tell you what, tonight, with a little bit of luck, I think the optimism might get cranked up a little bit more around here, which would be nice, because it's not just good to sit around and complain nonstop. I think there's a lot of people in other Canadian markets that look at us, woe is me here in Winnipeg, and go, hold on a second, dude, check out what we've got going on. So, as I say, positive vibes today, everybody. Let's manifest some good things for the city, the team tonight in the draft lottery. Remo, let's manifest some bad things for other teams right now and get to our Chuds Power Sports Power Poll. Shout out to the good folks at Chuds. Get ready for summer. Boats, RVs, dirt bikes, motorcycles, ATVs. They have it all. Incredible prices, awesome deals on right now to start the season. Head on out and see them in Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 231, or check them out online for everything they've got going on at chudspowersports.com. Remo, we will be right now unveiling the 5 teams we do not want to win the draft lottery. And I guess we're starting from 1 to 5 because...
Okay, wait. No, this is a game, Huss. It's the teams are going to pop up, and then you got to decide where they go. It's like one of those online things.
I got you. Okay,
so it's
perfect.
in random order. So where's...
Panthers are 1.
Okay.
To me, without a doubt, and you tell me if you have a different feeling, this team just won the last 2 Stanley Cups. They had a tough year. They had some injuries. They didn't make the playoffs. They're still very, very good. They're bringing back a heck of a roster next year. They are by far the least deserving team of the first overall selection, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. That was when we said, hey, this is our power poll for today, Florida was the easiest one. They just won 2 cups. You had the bad year. It's like when the Spurs in the 90s, came off a win, Robinson gets hurt, and then they get Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
We don't want that for Florida. They're pretty set with Tkachuk, Barkov, seemingly everyone signed at friendly deals because, I don't know if you knew this, there's no state tax in Florida, so everyone takes a deal. They've got great weather, the beach, on and on. So we don't want Florida to win. We're sick of them, and I'm happy to see this playoffs, no Florida teams remaining.
San Jose, I think I'm going to throw them in the 4 hole. There's a couple teams that personally I do not want to see them. But the bottom line is they scare me now. Like now you've got Will Smith, you've got Celebrini, the centerpiece of it all. You just picked Michael Misa 2nd overall. I mean, adding in another top 2 pick, I think makes that team even scarier moving forward. So I don't know. I'm sort of middle of the pack, 3 or 4.
Lock in San Jose. I kind of agree. They're getting too good now. We saw what they can do. They almost made a playoff spot. What a boost it would be for them to get that number 1 overall pick. And they would be jumping up quite a bit, too, to do that. And it would be bumping down the Jets. So here are the odds for first. They've the 9th best odds. So, yeah, I think, we could say easily these ones below the Jets, but for... other reasons, San Jose, they're getting too good. They don't need that first overall pick.
Yeah, no doubt. So San Jose will put in at 4. Who's next up on our team? Ooh, the Chicago Blackhawks. I will go 3 there. And to be honest, San Jose and Chicago, I think, could be reversed. But with Chicago being in the Central Division, and we're going to have to be worrying about that team a lot more than we will San Jose. Getting a guy like McKenna or Stenberg to be on the wing with Connor Bedard is not something that I would like to see. In retrospect, maybe I should have put San Jose at 3, but we'll go Chicago at 3. Next up is the Rangers. The Rangers are 5 for me. Obviously they're an East team. They wouldn't bounce the Jets out if they made, but this is a team that just the way they've operated for a number of years, the fact that they moved all the way up and won the draft lottery, 5 years ago or 6 years ago and got Lafreniere, to me, that is not a team that is deserving of it. And they certainly sort of played into the tank at the end of the season. So there's a bunch of teams that I think are out of it. But I think in this case, the Rangers is number 5. And then number 2 is the Leafs. And as I said, they won it 10 years ago with Austin Matthews. They are a mess. We'll be talking more about the presser yesterday with John Jacob being introduced. I know Leafs Nation would love to get it, but I think everyone else is a no to Toronto. Although, to be honest, based on their roster and where they're at right now, Chicago and especially San Jose scares me a heck of a lot more in the future than Toronto. Not to mention Toronto's in the East. But to me, it's clearly Florida, and then almost take your pick of the others. But I think it's good for the brand if we just say Toronto at number 2.
Yeah, I agree. We hear enough about Toronto. We want it to be doom for them. And if they go, outside of the top 5, Boston takes their pick. And that is just for, comedy purposes. That is way funnier that way if they don't have their pick when they desperately needed here. So
yeah,
so there's
Darth Skater and Blake. Can someone remind Huss about the St. Louis Blues? Hold on, St. Louis needs to be top 5. I've got time for putting St. Louis into the 5 spot as well. Just that they have not won or really been close in the lottery as far as I can remember in a really, really long time. And they're not particularly good. I mean, their star power, they've spent a ton of money on Jordan Kyrou. He's basically a third rounder. They'd love to get rid of him. There's all this talk about them trading Robert Thomas. They don't have the young studs that the Blackhawks or the Sharks do. And, listen, would it be great for the Jets if St. Louis got it? Absolutely not, and I agree with you. But I think it's a lot more worrisome in the big picture if Bedard got a McKenna or another stud was added to that San Jose Sharks. But I will grant you, speaking and focusing on the Jets in the Central Division, it probably would be worse for St. Louis to win it than the New York Rangers. There's our Chud's Power Sports Power Poll. Join us coming up at 6 o'clock tonight, live on YouTube. Connor will be hosting. I'll be hanging around with him with plenty of hot takes, and we'll be burning some incense, grabbing all of our lucky charms to try to see the Jets last it out and end up with Bill pulling out the Jets logo upside down again, like he did 10 years ago. 10 years ago when they selected Patrick Laine. Jeff Hamilton coming up a little later on. John Shannon will join us in just a few minutes. Before that, want to mention to you all, gang, that you have less than 4 days to get your tickets for the Tri-Hospital Dream Lottery and make sure you're in for every single bonus and early bird prize available in the record-breaking lottery this year. Every ticket, no matter when you buy it, is going to be in for the biggest grand prize ever. One of 6 dream home packages worth $1.7 million in Winnipeg, Headingley, and Vancouver Island. Or you can just take $1.35 million tax-free. Thank you very much. But there's also more early winners than ever before, and that's why you want to get your tickets this week before Friday's deadline, and you'll be in for the spring bonus worth over $58,000. There's going to be 6 winners. The grand spring bonus winner is going to have their choice of a Subaru Crosstrek Hybrid and a paddleboards package valued at $48,000, or a Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid and a kayaks package valued at $47,430, or for you travelers, $40,000 at fairconnect.com travel voucher and $5,000 cash, or $40,000 cash. 5 more winners are going to get a $2,000 shopping spree at either St. Vital Center, CF Polo Park, or the Outlet Collection, or $1,500 cash. You'll also be in for the summer bonus prizes worth over $95,000, and all of the early bird prizes in addition worth over $257,000. It is all in support of the Health Sciences Center, the St. Boniface Hospital, and the HSC Children's Hospital. So don't miss out. Get your tickets today, and you'll be in for the spring bonus and everything I just mentioned. TryHospitalDream.com is where you get your tickets. You can also buy them in person at London Drugs or your local Red River Co-op location. Make a difference for our 3 hospitals that we count on so much, and make yourself the next big winner and maybe an instant millionaire with the Tri-Hospital Dream Lottery. Got to shout out our friends at Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. Lots going on there as we get into spring and summer. Flooding hasn't been too bad, but listen, when you are in a jam, Clean Line is known now for over 40 years as the plumbers with over 40 years of fast responses, lasting results, and 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. You can schedule an appointment over at cleanline.ca, but just remember, when you're in a jam, write this number down, 204-500-2001. And the Clean Line team will be out to save the day for you, as they've been doing for Winnipeggers for 4 decades. 24/7 emergency services and so much more. The leaders in residential and commercial plumbing. Cleanline, plumbing, heating, and electrical, online at cleanline.ca. Our friends at Manitoba Battery are ready for spring. And as you get those dirt bikes, motorcycles, boats, RVs, ATVs, you name it, ready to go, you got to make sure those are powered up. And Manitoba Battery has the best prices in town, period. Beating the pants off the big box stores, not to mention the best selection of batteries for all sorts of things to get you through the summer fun. 2 locations now in Winnipeg. Dovercourt Drive, the new one on the south side of the city, the original on Logan Avenue. Pop by there for the best in customer services as well. Or you can give them a call or order online at manitobabattery.com. And Donnie and the gang can bring those batteries to you. For all your battery needs, shop local, save money, and get the best in customer service at Manitoba Battery, 2 locations in the city, and manitobabattery.com. And speaking of great customer service, I'm sure many of you saw our show on Friday when Connor did an impromptu hit for our friends at Roley's Transfer, because Connor and fam were making a move and had the Winnipeg Sports Talk truck to do it. Yes, if you do get a Roley's move, you may very well see yourself getting all your belongings moved in that beautiful Winnipeg Sports Talk truck. Bottom line is, for over 60 years, Roley's has been the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. So for your next move, lean on our friends at Roley's. Head on over to Roley's.com, click on Request an Estimate, put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to go. And our friends at Roley's will turn around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they've been famous for, now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Roley's Transfer. Get online and request an estimate today over at Roley's.com. All right, we've got playoffs, we've got press conferences, we've got lots to get to. Let's welcome in John Shannon back to the program. You can check out the podcast wherever you get it, along with our friend Darren Millard. What's going on, John? How are you doing?
You miss me?
I did, actually. And considering what's been happening around your neck of the woods, I thought this was perfect timing to get you on. Never a dull day in Leafland these days, huh?
Wow. It's like the sands of time, days of our lives. It's never boring in Toronto, to the point where it's actually fascinating, Andrew. The Blue Jays are playing not well. The Raptors were in the playoffs, lost in 7 games. Not many people are talking about them. There was only one topic du jour that has really engrossed the market, and that was who was going to be the leadership group, who was going to be the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, to the point where it has become so distracting. I think the NHL is probably relieved that the Leafs finally made a decision so that we can start talking about the Stanley Cup playoffs again.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot of oxygen in that market going to the race. By the way, I mean, folks, if you haven't been keeping up with 100% hockey throughout the playoffs, you certainly should. Some of the best in analysis and some great recent episodes. Bruce Cassidy on. And I know my friends in Edmonton will enjoy the sit down with Stoff on what went wrong with the Oilers in their early exit. And we'll get to that in the playoffs in a minute. But 100% hockey with Millard and Shannon, wherever you get your favorite pods. And, of course, you can check it out on YouTube. John, I was really looking forward to having you on because with your experience in the game, we're lucky enough. There's no one more connected with you that speaks with more people around the league on a regular basis. We all heard the heater from Steve Simmons yesterday. I'm sure you've talked to at least 20 people. Are you hearing the same things about John Jaika that Cy has been?
Yep, I have. It has been a topic of discussion for the last 7 to 10 days when John Jaika's name became public, and really it was always with a question mark. They can't really be serious about John Jaika, can they? And that was really the thought process. that you dealt with on a daily basis. And then when you combine that with the return of Matt Sundin, there was another question about, what about pecking order and who's in charge of hockey and what's Matt's role in all of this? How will this work? And it's been if you're a diehard Maple Leaf fan, it's been a journey for the last 2 weeks. It truly has been a journey of what the team is supposed to be, and now I think we're going to start hearing stories about Auston Matthews and what his thought process is, and are we going to see a real change in the philosophy of this hockey club? Keith Pelley had talked about just making some tweaks and a retooling. I don't believe that anymore. I think the way that John Chayka talked yesterday was such that these are going to be a couple of dark years in Toronto land.
Well, and to top it all off, as we of course were just talking about the draft lottery tonight, there's the very real possibility that with some luck going the other way, the Leafs could get bounced back a pick, and that pick would be the Boston Bruins at 6th overall. If they pick in the top 5, they've got unprotected picks going out the door for the next 2 years. Either way, they've traded assets that are gone right now. They lost Mitch Marner for nothing. They're coming off a terrible season where they were one of the worst teams in the NHL, John. And I have a hard time imagining them doing enough. It would be miracle work to get to the point where at the end of this season, it looks like everything's fixed. And when Auston Matthews has to make the decision of whether he's re-upping with the team, we're probably looking at a very similar situation for a few years, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and that really becomes the issue, Andrew, is this is not a quick fix here. This team has major issues. This team has, very quickly gotten slower, and that's a hard way to say it, but they've gotten slower. They're getting older. They have relied on a few guys that have been injured too much, like Chris Tanev, who is a really good hockey player, but is injury prone because of the way he plays the game. So they have a lot of major building block issues to deal with. Morgan Riley, who makes almost $8 million, has no move. So, and he has not had a good season probably in 2 or 3. And so you'd like to move him, but he controls his own fate. So they have put themselves in some really deep, hot water. And it is going to be fascinating to see how they get out, and just as importantly, how quickly they get out of these problems.
John, back to Chayka. From your perspective and what you've heard, how did they end up here? And what was it that made Leafs management feel that this was the guy to take them forward as opposed to a number of others that would want one of the primo gigs in the league?
That's a great question. And there are stories now filtering out, and I have not actually gone and phoned and checked whether they're accurate, but there's some logic to them. That Edward Rogers listened to John Chayka speak at a sports conference at Western, which, by the way, they were both graduates of the University of Western Ontario, the Ivey School of Business. And Edward Rogers was impressed with John Chayka. And that's perhaps the genesis of why he has been named. And I say perhaps, that's why he's been named the general manager. Keith Pelley says that they went and interviewed approximately 25 to 27 people to go through the process to figure if there was anybody better, including guys like Mike Gillis, a horde of assistant general managers from around the National Hockey League. And in the end, it appeared that John Chayka was the winner. So from that perspective, the due diligence they have done and that's Keith's word more than mine, but the due diligence that they have done since the firing of Brad Treliving has got them a guy that has been out of the game for 6 years.
Well, and left and under pretty unique conditions as well, an NHL suspension. And like, I can never remember this sort of reaction to a hiring for literally anything in the league. And it seems like there has been some bridges burnt. There's still a lot of people that don't have a high opinion of him. John, do you think this is going to hamper his ability to do the job for the Leafs? I mean, the willingness of 31 counterparts to actually deal with him the way they would the other general managers in the NHL?
Perhaps, but at the same time, that if there's something, I mean, if you're a general manager in this league, your job is not to be happy or sad that John Chayka is with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Your job is to make your team better. And if that means you have to talk to John Chayka to get an asset from the Maple Leafs, whether that be a draft pick, whether that be a player, then you're going to do that. You're going to just find a way to make the discussions as professional as possible and go from there. This is not a popular choice within the hockey community. There are lots of people that, as Steve Simmons alluded to yesterday, that most people he talked to thought it was not a wise choice. I would like to talk to the one person who thought he was a good choice, because it's his job now. Not as if we can sit here and spout off and have Rogers change their mind. They're not going to change their mind. But I would like to know what his positive assets are that put him in the position of being in arguably the biggest hockey market in the world, with the most profitable hockey team in the world, and the largest fan base in the world. And it's like, in another sport, it's like taking somebody who hasn't been involved in the National Football League and making them the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys, or someone who has not been in soccer for the last 6 or 7 years, Manchester United. Those are difficult things to do. They truly are. Those are difficult things to do. That and really, the bigger story might be his absence from the game. Not that he was disliked the first time around, not that he was suspended for a year, but he has been out of the league for 6 years. And my goodness, I think you would agree, the league has changed a great deal in that period of time.
Well, I think a lot of GMs are kind of found that out maybe the hard way last year. But there's no doubt about it. I mean, the league is getting younger, it's getting faster, and maybe they feel he was already ahead of the curve and he's been working on that. But it's interesting. You mentioned the suspension. We all remember they ran that underground combine and they lost a first-round pick and a second-round pick. But for our listeners that are unsure of, what were the circumstances around the NHL suspension that came at the end of his time when he left the Coyotes going into the bubble?
Well, as I understand it, and gosh, the bubble, it feels like so forever ago, doesn't it? As I understand it, he was the general manager of the Coyotes at the time, and he was out soliciting jobs for himself, including one with the New Jersey Devils. And that's part of the problem for him at that point.
Well, it certainly was a memorable presser. And Mason Miller 103 on the black from Steve Simmons. I don't think I've ever. I mean, you've been around. You ever heard a question like that before?
I did. I must tell you, Mike Harrington in Buffalo did ask Kim Pagula some very tough questions one press conference as well. But I'm we can sit and argue about the follow-up that Steve gave with a few distasteful adjectives in it. But I admire Steve for being consistent in what he did, because he's been writing that for 3 weeks.
Oh, so do I.
And so for him to, this is an old lesson that you learned and I learned a long time ago. If we say something critical, you better be able to go in the dressing room tomorrow and stand in the middle of the room and say, "Come at me." And Steve has never been afraid of that. And so Steve deserves credit for putting his mouth where his printed word is, and he's prepared to take the flak. And that's what makes him, a polarizing figure in this market, a polarizing figure across the country, but he's must read every day because of it.
John Shannon is with us, 100% Hockey Podcast. Get it wherever you get WST. The Vancouver Canucks are on a search as well, and interesting to hear Pierre Dorion's name thrown out. What are you hearing about Vancouver? Would he be the front runner? And, I mean, that job in Vancouver is so unique, partly because of the ownership and, the way that team runs, but also just how much they have bottomed out this year, being the favorite to get that number 1 overall pick. Thoughts on the Canucks search?
Well, in typical Canuck fashion, they won't win the lottery. It'll be one of those things where they're going to be, they didn't win in 1970 and they won't, and who knows what happens in 2026. But, Jim Rutherford has tried to admit to the rebuild already. He was forced to fire Patrick Allvin, I believe. And what they're trying to do between Jim and Francesco Aquilini, the owner, and Michael Doyle, the CEO, they're trying to find a body that is agreeable to the group. I'm surprised about Pierre Dorion. It's funny, Pierre Dorion, we don't have to tell you, the Senators lost a first-round pick for a while. They got it back this year, but with the Dadonov no trade list stuff that didn't get filed properly with the NHL, and Pierre took the brunt of that. And Michael Andlauer, as soon as he took over the team, dismissed Dorion because of it. Pierre Dorion's a really good scout. He's a good assessor of talent. His general manager skills, well, I do think that's a little bit of a different question. I was told that the Canuck decision would come by the end of the week, probably, or early next week. I don't believe there are very many leaks in Vancouver. I think that there are, people have probably seen Pierre there. There are other bodies in place. In my opinion, what they're trying to do is they're trying to figure out, is there a better person out there than the guy that has been in the organization since 2015, and that's Ryan Johnson. And Ryan Johnson, who is a very good hockey man, and has a contract that probably paid him a bit much just to stay around to be the assistant general manager in Vancouver. They're trying to measure whether any of these people that they have brought in, whether it be Tom Fitzgerald or Pierre Dorion or Brad Pascal in Calgary, if any of those guys are better than Ryan Johnson. And so sure, Pierre Dorion's getting some traction, but at the same time, they may come to the decision that Ryan Johnson was our guy all along. We now are more comfortable with that.
The one other opening that has not been talked about very much, and I get it when the Leafs and the Canucks and everything's going on in the playoffs, but where's Nashville at? Is this going to drag out much longer? And might Barry Trotz actually be still at the helm when they get to the podium in Buffalo?
Well, I don't think there's any urgency because Barry is there. In both Toronto and Vancouver, they dismissed a body. They got rid of a body. The story in Nashville is it's more of a transition. We're transitioning from Barry Trotz to someone else. So I was told at one point, 2 weeks ago, they were down to 3 finalists. But then at a certain point, they said, you know what? No, we need to reopen up the concept. because perhaps there wasn't enough managerial experience in those three people that interviewed for a final time. So, and again, I think because Barry is there and because there is no urgency as long as the manager's in place, then that's why they're taking their time. Again, remember, there's a new ownership group in Nashville too. Rather short-term new ownership, including Nick Saban being involved in some of these discussions after his days at Alabama. Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea about that. Wow. That would be a really interesting perspective on
He's not going to coach.
Yeah.
He's not going to coach, nor is he going to manage. But my understanding is that he has been involved in the process.
Oh, that is really interesting. John Shannon is with us. John, back to the playoffs. I guess we're on to round two. I know you talked to Stoff in the last episode of 100% Hockey. Thoughts on where the Oilers are at right now, going into this 2-year bargain deal with Connor McDavid before he can leave if he chooses as a free agent, and a very, very disappointing season where, certainly according to the top guys, and it's hard to argue, the team took a big step back and became basically just an average NHL team.
Well, as you know, in the last 2 years, when they got to the Stanley Cup final, at some point during the season, they could flick the switch. They did. They flicked the switch, whether it be for a 16-game winning streak or an 8-game winning streak or 6 consecutive games in the playoffs. They could always flick the switch in Edmonton. Well, you know what? That old switch was broken this year. They couldn't turn it on. It couldn't turn it off. And so we all kept waiting for it. We kept waiting for, don't worry, the Oilers will get out of it. They'll be fine. Well, then you compound that with Leon Draisaitl's injury, then Jason Dickinson's injury, and then Connor McDavid's injury. I mean, I don't think Connor was more than 60% in the series against Anaheim. Leon certainly wasn't at 100, and Jason Dickinson wasn't any more than 70%, if that. So when you look, and Adam Henrique, the fourth center, was out completely. So all of a sudden, when you have no centers to play the game, you've got major issues. And then, in Edmonton, it's funny, Andrew, there are two storylines that are always going to work. In Winnipeg, it's the second line center. That's going to be the discussion point forever, the second line center. And in Edmonton, it's the goaltending. So as hard and as well as Connor Ingram played, and I can't imagine Connor Ingram playing any better than he did, it wasn't enough. And so that that begs the question is, what do they have to fix their goaltending again? And the answer is yes. They have to fix their goaltending. So that's the storyline in Edmonton. Because McDavid will come back healthy, Draisaitl will be healthy, Dickinson, if he signs, will be healthy. So they're going to be fine from a skater perspective, I think. They do need to take advantage and get some of their younger guys some more minutes. But really, in the end, it will come back to, can Tristan Jarry reinvent himself, or do they have to go out and find another goaltender?
John, as it pertains to the 2 years left of McDavid, do you think that it is all about this year? I mean, if they go through a similar year, they don't fix the problems, the team makes the playoffs and is out in the first round. Like, if the team is in this same situation a year from now, do they have to trade Connor McDavid? Because you could get one more year out of him, but if he walks for nothing, I mean, that sets the franchise back more than literally any player on the planet could set a franchise back.
Yeah, it does. And, you learn the lessons with Matthew Tkachuk leaving Calgary. I mean, I don't, have they ever recovered? Honestly, have they ever recovered from losing Matthew Tkachuk? I don't think they have.
They're route right now. And I would say, I was going through all this with Calgary. Calgary, when you compare the Canadian teams, is actually in a pretty nice spot. They've got multiple first-round picks, multiple second-round picks for the next few years.
Lots of assets, yes.
So they have done what they've had to do. But to your point, they've been a non-factor essentially since he left town.
Right. And then you talked right off the top of the show about what the Maple Leafs did or didn't do with Mitch Marner. And by the way, Marner is probably playing his best hockey as a Golden Knight in the last 2 games. One to win the series and then one to win game 1. If you do those equations, then you say, yeah, this is going to have to be a key year. I almost wonder though, was this the key year? And what can the Oilers do to appease Connor even this summer? There's going to have to be long and hard discussions. I think in Edmonton, and by the way, I think there's going to be long and hard discussions in Toronto too about Austin Matthews.
Hey, John, just before we go, I cannot wait for tomorrow night, the start of this Buffalo-Montreal series. I mean, just a quick thought on this round 2 matchup. A Buffalo team that was left for dead, been one of the great stories in the league, coming back, not only getting to the playoffs, getting past Boston, and then, like I said yesterday on the program, we are right now experiencing another run of Montreal Canadiens playoff voodoo. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. And this has happened before, and often when they have series wins like they just had against Tampa, it doesn't stop there.
I don't know how you win Game 7 with 9 shots on goal, but they did. I just don't know. They did, which is amazing. And the Buffalo-Montreal rivalry, I'm old enough to remember that it was a huge rivalry for a long time. It was big, all the way back to the 70s. Montreal, that was, just prior to them going on their 4 Stanley Cup wins in the late 70s. But Buffalo, who came into the league in 1970, they were a force by year 3. The French Connection was big. Danny Gare, they were, the late great Tim Horton. They played some really good hockey in the early to mid 70s and went to the Stanley Cup final in 1975 against Philadelphia. So part of that was that Montreal and Buffalo went to war in the playoffs then. And then over the years, it's been a good rivalry. It's kind of been stifled in the last 10 years because both teams were bad. But I tell you what, this is going to be a track meet. It's going to be fast. It's going to be physical. We are going to see no-name quality goaltending, and that's not a knock at Dobish or Luukkonen or Lyon, because I don't know who they're going to play in Buffalo. But these guys are all good goaltenders, and it is going to be fun to watch. The buildings are going to be rocking. I mean, the Bell Center to me is the loudest building in hockey, but I'll tell you what, KeyBank will be crazy, and it's going to be a really, really fun series, and it must drive. And I'm sorry to bring it back to the Maple Leafs. But to know that your arch rival is playing your other arch rival and you're sitting at home alone watching it, it must drive Maple Leafs fans crazy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This is going to be so much fun. I mean, with all due respect to all the other teams, I mean, I think the big boy series of this round is Minnesota, Colorado. But for the fun factor, the excitement, the atmosphere, it's going to be Buffalo, Montreal. And just, I'll leave you on this, John. How about this? Thinking back to the old days of the Adams division, the Buffalo Sabres, first round, Boston Bruins, second round, Montreal Canadiens. If they win, very likely the old Hartford Whalers in the Carolina Hurricanes, and a potential cup final against the old Quebec Nordiques in the Colorado Avalanche.
Or Jack Eichel and the Vegas Golden Knights, and do it. Could you imagine Jack Eichel returning to Buffalo to play the Sabres in the Stanley Cup?
Oh my God! Hey, it would be box office for the National Hockey League. John, thanks so much. Love the conversation as always. What's coming up on future episodes of 100%?
Tomorrow, I think it's a real special one, but I'm an old guy. Mike Emmerich. We dragged Mike Emmerich out of retirement to sit and wax poetic about Stanley Cup playoffs and
nice.
He's got some great stories to tell, and it'll be a fun show.
Phenomenal. Well, if you need to check in with us at a big victory party after the draft lottery, let me know. We're all fired up for 6 p.m. tonight. Special stream and everything, John. Fingers are crossed. We're going to be firing up the incense and all sorts of good luck charms.
Now I know why Richard Cloutier is calling me on CGOB to go on the show, because we got to compete with you, Andrew. As we got to compete with you.
Hey, appreciate you, pal. You're the best. Love the. Listen, the stuff has been phenomenal all year long, but especially around playoff time. Some of the stories and guests, so good. Looking forward to it, and thank you as always for the time. Have a great day.
Cheers.
All right, there's John Shannon at J Shannon NHL on X, and make sure to check out and subscribe to 100% Hockey. We do have the Hammer coming up. One Jeff Hamilton. Looking forward to that. Do want to thank our great sponsors at Princess Auto, and guess what? Spring is here. Although frankly, it does not feel like it today. What the hell is this? That being said, we move, and we move forward into May. Which might mean for all of you a trip down to Princess Auto, where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is waiting for you at Princess Auto. You can find them on Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, out in Brandon, and you can always shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. And not too long, we'll be back at Princess Auto Stadium cheering on our Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We had a very fun Chud's Power Sports Power Poll to kick off the show today, discussing the teams that we do not want to see win the draft lottery tonight. Of course, Terminator and the gang at Chud's are ready to go for spring. The snow machines are gone, and now it is all about ATVs, bikes, motorcycles, side-by-sides, golf carts, RVs, boats. If it involves good times in the summer, Chud's has it. They have so much selection. One of the best places to go is just jump online to chudspowersports.com to check out a bunch of the promos and sales they have right now, which like the Get Ready to Ride sales event for Polaris for off-road vehicles. Also got great ones on Husqvarna for bikes. And the RVs are ready to go. And the May motorcycle sales is on right now, and you can ride into spring with unbeatable deals. The great staff at Chud's is waiting for you up in Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. But jump over to their website today and see what everything they got going on over at chudspowersports.com. I got to thank Dr. Terry and the folks at St. Vital Dental Center for jumping on board with WST. They've been so good to us, not just to us on the show, but also to our mouths. Listen, St. Vital Dental Center has been taking care of generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans, and now have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's Road, where they're handling customers and clients from 6 months to 99 plus with a wide array of dental services, from cleanings and checkups, the things like dental implants. They do it all at St. Vital Dental Center. State-of-the-art equipment and big smiles from their wonderful staff. Go online to stvitaldental.ca and make St. Vital your new home for you and your family. And make sure to tell the gang that the boys at WST sent you. And if you're lucky, maybe you get that Friday afternoon appointment where you can be in the chair as everyone takes a moment to enjoy the marble race. stvitaldental.ca for more information and to make an appointment. And hey, tonight we've got a big game between Minnesota and Colorado. We've got the draft lottery. If you're getting out with your crew to watch the game, head on down to Boston Pizza. The playoff menu is in full effect right now. They've got some awesome new menu items. Pizza flights and wing flights are back. They've got the new MVP platter. And I will be trying, potentially tonight, they brought out the amazing mozzarella cheese sticks. They've taken it up, and I can't remember what it's called, but the cup pepperoni on it, the rosé sauce, and more. as I said, when you're at BP, make sure to peruse that playoff menu. There are some great options. And hey, you can always, if you're staying at home, get it hot and fresh to your door by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. All right, we're going to be joined by the Hammer, Jeff Hamilton, coming up in just a second. This segment is brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers in the Toyota Tacoma. The Tacoma standard I-Force engine boasts an impressive towing capacity of up to 6,400 pounds. In fact, it's the most powerful Tacoma ever. So whether you're hauling gear to the rink or heading to an away game, you can tackle it with ease. And the available panoramic multi-terrain view monitor gives you a live underfloor view to navigate even the toughest terrain with ease. Experience power, capability, and convenience with the Toyota Tacoma. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Prairie Toyota dealer during Reg Tag days from March through May. Let's welcome in Jeff Hamilton. And first things first, big congratulations to our pal Jeff, who was just nominated for the Michener Award, which I believe is basically the most prestigious Big J award we have in this country. Hammer, no surprise. Your work in the Freep's been unbelievable this year, but wanted to congratulate you on that incredible nomination starting off the show. Oh, hold on a sec. You're muted. Remo? Nope, we're not hearing you now. How are we now? Okay. There you go.
One sec. Before you start, Jeff, let me just bring you in. Okay, now you're
good. My goodness.
Yeah, you're good now.
How about now, Huss? You should have started the smoke, and that would have given us the opportunity for the delay for this great congratulatory statement you gave me. I appreciate it, really do. It's a huge honor. Obviously, anyone who knows me knows how much I care about the work that I do, the investigative stuff. In this case, it's been about teacher discipline, and just to, another excuse to shine a light on it, bring attention to what really is important. Like I said, important work to me, and to be included amongst the 6 finalists. This is actually my second nomination. I got nominated. I was a finalist in 2021 for my work in 2020 for the Graham James series. So it's that was delayed. We had COVID for a bit, and a few years later, there was actually 4 groups that got to go down to Ottawa to the Governor General's residence, Rideau Hall, and there's a big ceremony there. And so we got to be part of this cool thing. So to go back and be able to do that again, it's an award that recognizes obviously my work, but the effort of the entire operation at the Winnipeg Free Press, as much as it's me doing the grinding and doing a lot of that obviously front lines work. There's so many people in the background, editors. Scott Gibbons is a guy who is my right-hand man. He's the secret sauce, if you will, in this whole recipe. Anyways, I'll stop thanking people, but it really is a great honor, and just really excited to be recognized.
It makes sense. When I first heard the nomination, I wasn't surprised, but I assumed it was for your incredible takes on CFL 110 last year. But then I realized, that was, that the entire teacher thing was pretty big and did have a big effect in the community. So it'll be good. And hey, we do have some CFL.
No, CFL 110's what pays the bills, Huss, right? You know how it is. That's
the
all
labor
that
of love. The labor of love. I want to get to talking CFL with you in a minute, but first things first. Draft lottery tonight for the Winnipeg Jets and everyone else. I don't know. Compare how you feel the importance of this lottery as opposed to the opportunity in 2016. To me, the draft is a little different. The team's in a different spot, I guess, certainly age-wise, but it is somewhat similar that they had that amazing year in 2015 where they made the playoffs for the first time. They played the Ducks. They got swept, 99 points. They fell back 21 points the next season, and even though they won the last 4 games and kind of moved from like 3-4 to the 6 hole, ended up getting 2 in Patrick Laine, a pick that still bears fruit today on the Winnipeg Jets with the likes of Alex Iafallo and Gabriel Velarde. We all know where the team is right now, and the big
What are those
questions-
guys? Second generation Line A products, right?
Yeah, it was Line A that turned into Dubois.
Yeah, I know. I'm just. Yeah, no, it's
R.I.P.
just,
Rasmus Kupari.
second generation. Sorry, I'll let you finish your thought.
Well, and there's the pick as well, which I believe is Alphonse Frey, if I'm not mistaken, that they used with the Montreal seconder. But anyways, I mean, the team's in a different spot right now. But what is similar is that they were out of the playoffs, not where they wanted to be, and come in. Last time they were 6th going into the lottery. This time they're 7th. How big is this, or could it be for the Winnipeg Jets, in your opinion, tonight?
So I'm on call tonight for the Canadian Press, my other employer, who I do freelance work for. So if the Jets move into the number 1 or 2, and I know you've shared the slim odds of that number 3 potential end. If that happens, then I gotta jump into action and cover it. I bring that up because it's made me think about it, and I've been thinking about it for a big part of today, and what it would mean for this organization, what it means in the context, obviously, of Kevin Cheveldayoff's postseason presser, what it means in the future of this team, immediate and potentially long-term future. And I don't want to be hyperbolic, Huss, but I think you got Chevy and company sitting there with your absolute, everybody's fingers and toes are crossed that they can win this one. Because this, to me, if you think about it, Huss, is the only real way that they can salvage their promises to everyone. This, and I don't even believe this to be a fix-all. Like, I'm not saying get in there, get McKenna or Stanley and Stenberg and all of a sudden it's like everything's fixed, the Winnipeg Jets or whatever. But they're back on track to a certain degree. Where they can implement or bring in a player who's ready to play right now and is ready to produce right now. And the reality is outside of winning the lottery, what are those odds? And then the crazy part is, if you win the lottery, do you pick? Because I don't think the Jets are in a position, and here we are, I'm already assuming the Jets are winning this lottery pick. They obviously aren't in a position to trade it. But in reality, if the right trade was there, it really would be the perfect thing for the Jets. And I can already tell people are yelling at their screen right now and throwing stuff. Bear with me here. This would be the perfect thing for the Jets to then flip if the right deal came along from the right team to continue what they believe to be a window that has been temporarily, I bet you they wouldn't even designate it as shut, Huss, but temporarily just a sliver open that they could continue to open up and have, their number one goalie feeling good about the team, Mark Scheifele. And again, I'm not saying that all these guys are just going to be like, that's perfect. There's going to have to be some more work here, but this puts in a lot of work, and whether it's keeping the player or a trade. Now back to reality here, Huss. The fact of the matter is that that's not going to fix everything. So it's still, while it's super important, it almost feels like if they do get this, it's something that I would almost, again, it just allows them to continue on this path I think a lot of people disagree with. And I'm not suggesting that it would be a benefit for them not to get this pick. Of course they want to get this pick. But what this pick means for this group, I believe right now, is an opportunity to continue down this path. Almost validation that they can do this because they're going to get a ready-made, ready-to-go, impactful player. So that to me is, I think, the double-edged sword here potentially. I don't think there's a bad thing in it. I just think that that's the piece, and that's why it's so big. I'd argue bigger than 2016 because they made a lot. Let's put it this way, Huss. This team, this management made a lot of promises, and unless the cards go right, because they can't afford to miss this pick. That's the other thing. If they don't get number 1 or 2, they can't miss at 7, 8, or 9. They have to nail this pick, and that's the other thing I think is very key to this draft lottery, is if they get 1 or 2, barring a catastrophic injury to one of those 2 favored players or whoever else they find in those first 2 picks, Huss, that it guarantees that they get this part right. And for a team that has very, very slim margin for error, that is a massive victory for an organization if and when this thing can happen for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's just fun from a fan's perspective to think about what a top pick can mean. And now we've talked to Scott Wheeler, and Shane Malloy is going to come on with us tomorrow in the aftermath of the draft to get his thoughts on how big it is. Scott, sort of had a tier of the top 2 players, and then tier 2 basically goes from 3 to 9. So you're either winning it or you're winning one of the 2 picks, and then fantastic. If not, you're still going to get a really good player. But I think the timeline on that player is probably a little different. And I would caution too. And I mean, I probably will have to, pull the reins back on myself a little bit if it goes the Jets' way tonight. Because these are still 18-year-old players. And we've seen a number of times that, you can be the top pick in the draft, consensus, number 1 overall. Hello, Alexis Lafreniere. That doesn't, never mind, immediately turn into, this franchise-changing player, but might not. So it is very important. I mean, there's nothing.
So on that note, Huss, let me flip it on you. Let me take over this interview for a second and ask you a question. If they say because the odds are favoring a 7th place pick, right? Or I guess the second closest odds are an 8th place pick. So say they're picking, let's just go with 7th place. Knowing what knowing what we know, what everybody knows, like it's not an insider thing, it's not a secretive thing, knowing what this organization wants with this team, knowing that they want to continue what they feel is obviously a down season, and with a little bit of, self-reflection and identifying some issues, and obviously some key pickups here in the summer that they can get back, not to probably where they were as President's Trophy winners, but back in the mix. Can you honestly pick at number 7? Or has that become a major trade piece to you? Because, and I'll preface it with this, is what is number 7 going to give you if we're led to believe it's the 1 or 2 is the first tier, and then it's a 3 to 9, which we all know, look at the past drafts, there's no guarantee in any of those. Like the likelihood of that player is probably going to be 2-3 seasons. So what benefit is it for the Jets if they don't win the lottery? And if the right deal comes along, do you not have to take it?
I personally would be totally against trading the pick in almost any scenario. Listen, we all know last year was bad, and I think you can absolutely make the argument that this team is better than they were this year, and with a few right moves and some guys having better seasons and not being hurt, this team can be a playoff team. And if we get the opposite of Connor Hellebuck in the playoffs the last couple of years and the gold medal game Hellebuck, I mean, look at the randomness. Montreal just won a freaking Game 7 against Tampa, with 9 shots on goal. I mean, there are weird things that happen in the playoffs, and you can be the best team in the league and you can go out in the first round, which happens often. Hello, Lightning, 4 straight years. It's nuts. So, I mean, they have a good enough roster and core to try to continue to win. But I think of this pick, whether it's 1, 2, 7, 8, or 9, as hopefully the rare chance they have to pick in the top 10. And to me, this player needs to be a cornerstone of the next sort of generation of the Winnipeg Jets. Because at some point, I don't think that every single one of these guys they've signed is going to end up playing their entire career in Winnipeg. That just doesn't happen. There will be a time where there's a move that's made, and it might be a bunch of guys. And I know some people suggest they do that right now. That's not happening right now. But I'll tell you what, I mean, look at the Rangers projection. And again, I certainly hope this doesn't happen, but they went President's Trophy. They went missing the playoffs. They're now 3rd, I believe, of the teams going on right now. If that happened again next year, then, I mean, listen, we heard what Connor Hellebuck had to say. He's probably thinking about making a move. And then at that point, if that happens, by the way, Josh Morrissey will have 1 year left on his deal at the end of this season. So if he's not thinking about sticking around, I think you can move him. If both of those guys are gone, what are Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele? I mean, it could really kind of snowball quickly. And that's why this pick, already having it there maybe ready to go, if you trade those players, you're bringing in younger guys, you're bringing in some picks. There would probably be some short-term pain, but it would be a massive overhaul to the team. So right now, I'm not interested. Now, if there was
So
some
you don't
sort-
believe? So just say you don't believe in this because the reality, because the New York Rangers are a perfect example, and I'm glad you bring them up, because the New York Rangers are not in. While they look like they're in a similar situation as Winnipeg, or Winnipeg looks like they're in a similar situation as the Rangers are heading into, or have been now for a little bit since winning the President's Trophy. It couldn't be further from the truth. Because the New York Rangers can attract the things that we don't hear about. No one has the Big Apple on their no trade list. Nobody has the Big Apple as a place they don't want to go to or bring their wife to, whether she's from the US, Canada, or anywhere in Europe, right? It's not a tough sell to go to New York. So those problems aren't the same as Winnipeg, which I'll go back to my earlier point about Winnipeg and the Jets having a slimmest, if not the slimmest, margin for error in this league. And so to say that you don't, you know, whatever the situation is, you want them to keep their pick at 70 to be the benchmark cornerstone pick, to have that pick in the top 10, what you're saying is you're starting with Mark Scheifele over again. Like, this is what the Winnipeg Jets did when they moved from Atlanta. They picked number what? Mark Scheifele was 7th?
Yeah, he was 7th.
Right? They picked 7th overall. They picked Mark Scheifele and they waited. And now Mark Scheifele is in that position, and the Winnipeg Jets are proving that if they don't trade that pick, or if they keep that pick, they're with you. They're showing you that we don't need to go in with the second core, because nobody does that in the league that's younger and faster. So right now you're saying, and I think everybody is saying, that number 7 pick is the future cornerstone piece of the Winnipeg Jets in what will be days ahead. The problem is there's a dumpster fire that's currently burning here because of the work that was done, or rather not done, last summer. So now the problems, the issues, the promises to the Hellebucks, to the Connors, to the Mark Scheifeles, to the Josh Morrisseys, to the core players who have signed here and have said to you, if you continue to be a winner, we will retire as Winnipeg Jets. We'll no longer feel that way if you hold on to the number 7 pick and try to be the next Mark Scheifele, or the next guy to cornerstone to build around. The pressure from inside that all this organization seems to care about is winning right now. So if you hold on to that pick, I don't find a way for this Winnipeg Jets team to fill and retool and become that team that competes for a cup. And that's the dilemma this team finds them in.
I think it's greatly exaggerated to call the state of the franchise a dumpster fire. Like, I know we all read on Twitter and there's some loud people that are all on that, but I think that realistically, if you look at what they have, the players that they have.
Okay, a little bit. They're headed that way, though. They're headed that way.
Well, I mean, absolutely. This past year was a disaster. I mean, there's no way around it. But I think that we are all victims sometimes of recency bias, and you live in the moment of where you are. And the fact of the matter is, we're doing a freaking stream to follow the draft lottery tonight. So that tells you what happened last year. But I don't think that this team, you know, listen, they have some work to do this year without a doubt. But I mean, let's talk. This is a strange analogy, but let's go back to the start of last year and look at the Toronto Blue Jays.
Sure.
The Toronto Blue Jays, like, Shapiro and Atkins could not even walk down the street because they were public enemy number 1. The Jays went into the season with a win total of 78.5, basically saying this was going to be an under 500 team. And they didn't do a lot in the offseason. And they were asked, okay, guys, like, what's going to be the difference? And they talked about sort of internal improvement and not the big name guys that were coming and that could do that. And that exactly happened. To me, like, I hate to say it, but I mean, I'm not going to be sitting there holding my breath on July 1st that the Jets are going to be the team that's making a huge splash in free agency. But when you look at teams right now in the playoffs, who are the players that are making the biggest difference for teams like the Ducks? Well, you know what? You got Leo Carlson and these guys that are top picks. Jackson Lacombe, 39th overall. Like, they need to have some wins in ways that are not just obvious. And now that's pro scouting, that's amateur scouting.
Huss, this already happened. They already had their Blue Jays moment. It's gone now. His name was Rick Bowness. The year the Winnipeg Jets were not supposed to make... Listen to what you just said, though. You had a team that was not projected to make the playoffs one year, and they finished 4th in the league and won the Jennings Trophy, I believe. They had a massive turnaround season, and then they kept growing under Bones and progressing and getting better, and then they maxed out, man, at the President's Trophy winners. What you're asking for is a second wave of internal improvements. That's what Nino Niederreiter was. That's what Vlad Nemestikov was. That's what all these guys who were playing out of their shoes. They had their moments. They had their
those guys
Toronto
need to
Blue
be
Jays.
gone, and guys to come in with much better performances this year.
And that's hard. That's way easier said than done. Can you find another Nino Niederreiter? Can you find another Vlad Nemestikov? That's the challenge at play here. And you need, guess what?
Well,
you need more than those guys.
I would make the argument right now from watching the Moose games on the weekend that the biggest fault of the organization this year was not realizing that they just simply were not getting NHL level contributions and productions from a bunch of guys that they had made commitments to and sat their asses in the press box and got a few of the guys. Walker Duehr is big. He's fast. He was really good for the Moose this year. He was sort of an afterthought. I would have loved to have seen what a guy like that with a carrot of coming up would have done. I think they blew it. They blew it on a number of occasions on that. But again, there's no reason why you can't do that next year, or why you can't go in. Like, if you're not getting those free agents, you can't do that
next year, Huss, because there's inevitable growing pains with that. You can't just go, hey, Walker Duehr, go play 60-plus games, go play this many games when you have Mark Scheifele at a 100-point season guy, Kyle Connor. Like, that's asking too much.
Hey,
that's what you should have done this year with one or two guys.
I don't know whether they can do it with Scott Arniel. And that's a different conversation based on, being here for 4 years and, having the connection with the players. But I want at training camp to go in and the 7 guys that are for sure going to be on the team. Like, I want there to be real legitimate competition and have guys go and earn these spots and have a spot where, guess what? If you go for a month without producing, sorry, pal, there's someone else that's going to come in and be taking your job. Like, to me, I think there's a lot of guys that were just way too comfortable for a long time on this team, and it really, really hurt them. There was a bunch of other things. It's easy to just kind of focus in on that. But as I said, that like if the Jets are ever going to be a real legitimate contender again, whether you believe that they were or not, is regardless. What is going to need to happen is they're going to need to nail their draft picks, and that doesn't include trading them. And they're also going to need to get some wins elsewhere. And that means later on in the draft, probably. That means a couple under-the-radar free agent signings that turn out to be far greater than what was expected when it happened. And
I think they call those diamonds in the rough for sure. We'll definitely put that on the list.
As I say, let me know where the 2026 Brandon Hagel in the 6th round is, please. I'd like to know that. Yeah, exactly. I will pass that on.
Get your offer sheets. Get your offer sheets going to various teams and players who are just on the cusp of being perennial 30 goal scorers. Yeah. Huss, this is what I'm talking about. You're explaining in great detail the slim margin of error that this organization has, and that's the crazy part. And I've said this on this show. I've written about this in the past. This is the part that, like, if you have a bit of a silver lining, if we're going to give Kevin Cheveldayoff some credit here, if you will, and I know that drives people nuts, he does his best work when he's up against it in the worst possible way. And we once again, I believe at least, we find ourselves in that situation. You don't have to call it a dumpster fire. Maybe it's not there yet, but the Jets are in serious trouble if the goal here is to win a Stanley Cup. Okay. And that's the problem. And the reality is this lottery is a huge situation tonight because there is two conflicting things. I think the belief that this team needs to become like the modern NHL, get younger, get faster, and wow, with a 1 or 2 pick, Huss,
get tougher,
be the perfect building block around that, and then you start. Maybe you can mix them with the guys. Maybe you make a trade of one of the core players, right? Because once you get a 1 or 2 pick in, this isn't Patrick Laine to come in and have Blake Wheeler with his arm around him and telling him what. this guy is the future of the organization, and everybody else in due time will have to get in line behind the 1 or 2 pick. This isn't come in with this leadership core, and that's the problem. And that's the question I asked Kevin Cheveldayoff, and that's the question I asked Scott Arniel at their availability is this team, we hear about it being a family. It's a family. Everything goes really well in a family. You have a family where there's no problems. Dinners are great. Families that have friction, and we saw it for the first time under this new regime, really having friction, everything started to pull itself. Can this, the leadership group take a step back and be in the shadows of a new 1 or 2? The reality is they'd have to be if this team is going to be successful. And I don't know if we have an answer. We can hear about how great it is in there, how everybody's a great team player, whatever. There's a reason why this management decided consciously not to bring these players into this environment when they were burned.
Yeah, well, I hope they also heard Gabe Vilardi say very clearly, well, things were a lot better when we brought up Brad Lambert and getting Elias Salmonson at the end, and I think that has gone loud and clear. Listen, well, we'll have much more to talk about this after we find out what happens tonight, and plenty of chats this offseason. I guess I got to bring in Cash in, so we'll save CFL talk. We're going to get into that big time, both here on CFL 110 coming up in the next couple of weeks, so we'll do that. Congrats again on the nom. We'll stay in touch tonight. Should be interesting. I hope you've got a lot of work to do for CP later on this evening.
Yeah, you would, Huss. After this, spirited conversation, always a great back and forth. I hope I am doing a little bit more of my noise typing the keyboard rather than flapping my gums. So
it would just mean that we're picking 1 or 2 because I don't think
that's not the lens I have. I go from working, Huss. It's that's the way I see these things. Anyways, we'll talk to you next week.
You got it, pal. Thanks so much. There's my guy Jeff Hamilton. We will be getting going in the next couple of weeks with CFL 110 weekly with the best of everything in and around the Canadian Football League. And of course, again, congratulations to Jeff. Huge honor to be nominated for that Michener Prize along with some of the best in the country. All right, man, things are going at Royal Sports right now. They just had the big first tent sale of the year with 50% or more off, like 2,000 pairs of shoes. I had a bunch of friends go down and pick up 3 or 4 pairs and just take care of everything for the year. They'll be having another one in a couple of weeks. We'll let you know about that. But of course, as we get into soccer, baseball season, biking, Royal Sports is so locked and loaded for whenever this weather decides to turn and get us an actual spring and summer. Head on down to the Ultimate Sports Superstore in Winnipeg, 750 Pembina Highway. All sorts of bikes, e-bikes as well. Best in equipment and cleats for all of your summer sports. And the best in fan merchandise as well. With all those new NFL draft hats, by the way, if you were hoping to get them, finally a good version for the first time in about 3 or 4 years. They're all there at Royal Sports as well. Looking forward to, I guess on Thursday, we're going to have our pal Mike Rajewski from Travel Manitoba join us for the first time. We're going to be doing that, hooking up with the guys from Hunt and Fish Manitoba at times throughout the summer and let you know, maybe away from just the normal sports talk, some of the great things to do when we're off the air on your summer weekends or holidays. If you are planning your next adventure, start with Travel Manitoba. Whether you're searching for road trip inspiration, hidden gems, or the latest festivals and events, everything you need is waiting at travelmanitoba.com. If you're looking for ideas on the go, make sure to follow on social media at Travel Manitoba for real-time inspiration, local tips, and can't miss experiences from across the province. Or if you prefer a personal touch, stop by one of their visitor information centers. Stop by the visitor information center at the Forks in Winnipeg. And geez, it's coming. 1 week today, our friends at Assiniboia Downs get going with another year of live racing. We're going to have Darren Dunn join us next Monday on the show. And we're also cooking up a special contest for WST viewers and listeners to join the WST team in the dining room in early June for a great night of racing and chowing down on that amazing Angus prime rib buffet. So stay tuned to WST for more on details of how you can enter and potentially join us at Assiniboia Downs. asdowns.com for all information on live racing, bookings for the dining room, and of course it's open 364 days a year with VLTs and more. But there's nothing like the live racing days, which begin on a Tuesday. Speaking of Tuesday, we are 14 days, 2 weeks to the date away from the Winnipeg Goldeyes home opener. And our pal, Andrew Collier, GM of the Fish, joins us now, looking pretty spiffy in that Goldeyes jersey that a lot of fans are going to be wearing 2 weeks today when they get to the park. What's going on? How are you?
You doing?
Listen, dude, I'm kind of pissed off at the weather, to be honest with you. I'm trying not to have that negativity get into my head. I'm trying to keep it positive vibes only for this draft lottery tonight. But I tell you what, after hooking up with you last week and having a couple and talking about the upcoming season, I am very much excited for the 19th of May and another season of Goldeyes baseball with a lot of cool stuff coming for fans for the 2026 season. Let's start off with the home opener because you've got the jersey on. You can see Remis has it right there. Free jersey for the first 5,000 fans. Last year's home opener was amazing, and it seemed like everyone in the park had one of those jerseys, and we're running it back with another great way to kick off the year.
Yeah, it's such an awesome giveaway to kick off the year. People grab that jersey. Just a good way to start. Fireworks after the game. We're over 80% sold. I'm guessing we'll be 6,500 plus. Hopefully get closer to 7,000. But 2 weeks to go today and over 80% sold. We're thrilled with that. But still lots of tickets available. Goldeyes.com/tickets. Get those tickets early. Get them on your phone so you don't have to stand in line. If you're going to stand in line, make sure it's for the jersey and not for tickets, because if you're standing in line for tickets and then go to the line for jersey, you might not get one.
That is a great point. And I know there's a lot of people that just, hey, let's go to the ball game. We'll go down and get some at the gate. It is literally so much easier just to go onto your phone, go to goldeyes.com/tickets, get them and walk up and use them, as opposed to inevitably, especially on the home opener day, sitting in line of a few hundred people waiting to get tickets from Will and the great staff at the ticket office. So count yourself in for the home opener and get them early. Pick your seats, and you will be able to avoid a lot of headaches. And the bottom line is get those jerseys. That one is phenomenal. The last year, that black jersey, every game I went to, I saw dozens of people still wearing them, and I think a lot of fans will be rocking this one. It very, very nice. A little bit of red with the team this year, and we move.
Yeah, they'll stand out in the crowd for sure. Having 5,000 people wearing these jerseys on opening night, it's just a cool way to kick it off, especially not just for the returning guys to see what Winnipeg and Blue Cross Park's all about, but for the returning guys to say, hey, I've been at home openers before and it wasn't this crazy. This is really special. It's just a great way to kick off the home season.
Now, I've been waiting to get you on the program because there's been some really exciting changes and improvements to the ballpark that fans are going to notice this year. I know you guys did the announcement a little while ago, but let's sort of dive into that, including night and day changeover when it comes to lighting at the facility, which I think is going to really boost up the game experience as well as what you guys are able to do from a game day perspective.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. Going from the regular bulb lights to LED lights that you can turn on and off, and you can flash and change colors and have special intros for closers and celebrations when we hit home runs or have a walk-off. It's going to be so awesome. I know Ed, who's in charge of our game production, he's really looking forward to integrating that with his game day production.
Yeah, so we'll look forward to that. And I know you did some work over a place that's close to my heart, Craft Beer Corner, Andrew.
Yours and mine. Yes, Craft
Well,
Beer
you
Corner.
are the godfather.
Craft Beer Corner, that's going to be my legacy when all is said and done. It got used so much since 2018, we had to replace the floor. And it's all composite flooring now, same flooring that's on the two patios down the left field line. I think people will really notice the difference when they come to the park this year.
Now, one of the other things that if you were, at the office right now or watching maybe afterwards or thinking about doing something, fun with your group from the office, I mean, we've done the patio party the last couple of years, a bunch of patio opportunities so people can jump in if they want to get a booking for a number. We are working on our annual patio party, and we haven't done anything like with tickets or anything, but I'll put out a little save the date. Because the Fish play so much just on the weekend in July, we wanted to do this in June, and I think it looks like we're going to kick off Canada Day on June 30th with our WST group. So we'll have details on that, but it's going to be a Tuesday night with the next day being Canada Day. So perfect day for everyone to get out, have a good time. I know many people will probably be taking Thursday and Friday off, so you can start an epic long weekend with us out at the ballpark. So stay tuned to WST. We'll send it out in the mailing list, and everyone that came last year, we filled it out for the event. We're going to be doing it again. I hope you can all join us again as well. So we're looking good. We can't wait to eat and drink and have a great time at the ballpark. What about the team? They're on the road right now getting ready for the upcoming season. I mean, we'll hook up with Logan Watkins before the opener and get a little bit more. But from your perspective, Cash, how are things going? And how's the squad looking before we play game number 1?
You know what? I never like to get too excited this time of year, but I really like this team. I like what I've seen. I like the chemistry that I've seen in the few days that the team's been here. We kicked off training camp on Sunday, and it was actually a nice day outside, so they got a good day's work out there. They just played 2 games in Fargo, lost yesterday, but won today. Our pitchers threw a combined 15 strikeouts. So you like to see that early in the season. I think what Logan and his coaching staff has done is great, but you never know till you get going for real.
Well, let's just hope for a safe first couple of weeks before the team gets back here and have everyone intact and no crazy injuries that have happened in the past. Now, Andrew, the chat is going crazy about the jersey in the background. The Manitoba Mosquitoes. We remember the April 1st announcement that the Goldeyes were going to the Manitoba Mosquitoes, and this actually is happening. That was not just an April Fool's joke, but it's one day only. The response to merchandise for this, well, you tell us about it and just fill people in on that date of the game, and if they want to get Manitoba Mosquitoes merch, how they go about doing that.
Yeah, the response to the merchandise has been, it's blown me away. I thought it would be good, but it's been so good. Jerseys are flying off the shelf. We closed pre-orders on April 30th, but we will have a great selection in the store, and we'll keep restocking it. But yeah, Dynasty Curling designed the logo for us. They're doing the jerseys. On Deck Apparel is doing all the apparel. Our good friend Amos Ramon over at On Deck Apparel has done an amazing job. We've got New Era hats coming in. Yeah, it's been really cool, the response to this. Well,
and the game day, and that one's going in. Is that the Friday of the August long weekend, if I'm remembering correctly?
Yeah, July 31st, Manitoba Mosquitoes, fireworks after the game. Should be an awesome night.
Beautiful. As T. Will says, shut up and take my money. Well, you can get it down at the ballpark, and that game, which will be, a fireworks Friday going into the long weekend where the team will be the Manitoba Mosquitoes, is on the Friday of the August long weekend. Of course, Andrew, I guess Goldeyes.com is where people want to go. Hit on tickets, get your tickets for the home opener, flex packs and ticket packages still available, suite bookings if you want to, get, or one of the patio decks for a larger fun event. I mean, it's all coming together, and all we need is Mother Nature to cooperate, and we'll be ready to get going in 2 weeks.
Yeah, let's hope May 19th is a beautiful 20-plus degree day out. For the home opener, We are getting light on tickets, but we have 2 patios that are available. So if you have a group of friends, coworkers, we have the Trans-Canada patio and the Fort Garry Brewing patio. They're both still available. If you have a bunch of people, bring the office out, bring the whole family out. Those 2 spots are still available.
Heck of a way to start off the season. Mark it down, everybody. 2 weeks today, May 19th, Fish home opener, 6:30 p.m. first pitch. We will see you there. And that beautiful red Goldeyes jersey that Andrew's wearing can be yours if you're one of the first 5,000 fans inside the ballpark. Cash, have a great one, man. We'll look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, thanks. And hopefully the Jets get a top pick tonight.
Yeah, just keep the Lucky Charms on. Keep the Lucky Charms on until about 7 o'clock this evening. Thanks, big guy.
Thank you.
There's Andrew Collier. We do have odds on the draft lottery. We will get to that in just a moment. Jake's going to jump on with us. Do want to thank our friends at Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge. Got to give a special congratulations, speaking of Aikens, to Kurt Charnowski, who was our guide last year when we were out there. And I think people remember the sort of harrowing experience we had when those fires popped up, and the professionalism of Kurt and Kieran, our guides, who finished up, got everyone safely back to the lodge, and then went out and fought fires for about 14 hours, was incredible. He got the Travel Manitoba Employee of the Year award. Maybe we'll have to get Kurt on at some point on one of our Travel Manitoba segments. Congratulations to him. He and the gang are back, ready to welcome back customers and Fisher people in a couple weeks. I'll be there at the end of the month. Go to aikenslake.com if you want more information on an unbelievable fly-in fishing experience where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg. Hook you up with opportunities, different options for when you're out there, as well as availability for the 2026 season at aikenslake.com. And again, shout out to Kurt for that great award. Our friends at Breezy probably as choked as the rest of us about these couple days, but it is getting nicer and golf season is here. Breezy, I mean, the staff that they've got there and the groundskeeping crew does such an amazing job. We're going to be in mid-season conditions before we know it. If you're thinking about a long-term golfing home for you and your family at one of Winnipeg's top private courses, go to breezybend.ca for more information. And you can also give a call to 895-7205. Ask for our pal Corey Johnson, who can give you the lay of the land on membership opportunities at the one and only Breezy Bend. All right, Jake is locked and loaded. He'll join us in just a couple minutes. But let's quickly give a big cheers to our friends at Little Brown Jug. Don't forget, small cans available, 12 ounces of both 1919 and generic now, citywide.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, it is time. We will get to Cool Bet lines in a minute, but before he hits out on his worldly travels, my guy Jake Bolan Moss from Cool Bet joins us before tonight's draft lottery and obviously Stanley Cup playoffs continuing. How are you? What's going on? Are you all packed? Are you ready to go tomorrow? I mean, big trip, probably one of the longest you've been on, other than our romantic 2 weeks together in Qatar of all places. It's good to go?
Yeah, a bit of a different style trip. The romance guitar might be a bit different than the romance on this Europe trip, but yeah, all packed up and ready to go, and yeah, excited to get out there and see some different parts of the world that I haven't. London for a couple nights, and then we're going up to like the rural area of London, the Cotswolds they call it. I'm not very familiar, but my girlfriend was adamant that we go, so we booked a couple nights there, and we're going to Paris for a couple nights, and then a few days in Scotland, and then we do a bunch of days in Ireland to cap it off. So should be a good time.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing. You're not making the Coolbet Irish Open one of the big-time poker opportunities people have playing in Coolbet. That's not part of this. I imagine the missus probably wouldn't be down for a week of playing poker in the middle of a 3-week trip to Europe.
No, it's a full vacation trip, no work during this trip, not even bringing the laptop because I'm doing the old backpacking style. So
oh wow.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully if you need to contact me, it'll be on the old cell phone, but yeah, no crazy things. But I will say, Huss, we're flying into Ireland on my birthday, so I'm sure that'll be a good first day in Dublin to get the Irish stage of the Irish section of the trip started.
I'm looking forward to some reports when you get back. Let me get a report from the GTA from Leafs Nation. How are you and the homies in the group chat dealing with yesterday's press conference? Where's the vibe right now of Leaf fans?
Yeah, like you wouldn't believe I have a 3-man, well, I'm sure you would believe. I got a 3-man like TML Leaf group chat, and I'll tell you what, like it is an absolute disaster right now. We're spinning the tankathon a zillion times to see if we can, what pick we're going to end up with. And listen, I love you guys. I love the people of Winnipeg. We don't want to see Winnipeg move up that board because that means the Leafs are going to lose this pick. So I know you guys are rooting for something a little different, but yeah, the Leafs desperate need to keep this top 5 pick, and then hopefully, the crew that has been brought in, the John Chayka and the Matt Sundin, tandem here, they can make the right call and start to work this team back towards contending. The press conference, I thought it was a whole lot of nothing. Obviously, the Steve Simmons clip has been going around. He's been bashing Chayka long before that press conference yesterday. On social media.
So is everyone else in the hockey world, apparently.
Yeah, and listen, that might be the case. My one buddy seems to think that, the more you talk about how bad a guy is, it might actually be a good thing, because we've been in situations where you hype a guy up to a level that you can't quite meet. Like, Craig Berube, for instance. I think people are really excited when he came in. He took that Blues team to a Stanley Cup. And, people have soured on him really quickly. They've seen his style of play. It doesn't really form to the Matthews and the Nylanders of the world. Like, it's not exciting hockey. And quite frankly, it didn't work out for them this year. So I think hype is it's probably better to be on this side of the coin than on the other side of the coin, where if Chayka came in and Sundin came in and there was a ton of hype around them across the hockey world, then all they're set up for is failure. Where right now, they got everything in front of them. Everyone's expecting them not, especially Chayka, not to do a good job. And it's a great opportunity for him to prove the haters wrong. And I'm obviously hoping that's the case.
Well, as far as the lottery goes tonight, we do have odds on who will get the number 1 overall pick. And just before I get to that, Jake, the one thing that would make us all happy is if we got just into the hot tub time machine and went back 10 years and the Leafs and Jets both won and we both got into the top 2. That's the one way the Jets can get a top 2 pick and you guys won't move back. Although, we'll hear the odds right now. So the Canucks are first up. They are plus 275. The Chicago Blackhawks plus 575. The Rangers 7-1. Calgary is plus 850. The Leafs are plus 950, Kraken 11-1, Jets 12-1, Panthers 13-1. That's absolutely the worst case scenario for everybody. The Sharks 17-1, Predators 25-1, and the St. Louis Blues 28-1. Trying to manifest a great, and a win for me, because I've been a little cold lately, although it's been coming around. I'm going to put a couple bucks on the Jets at 12-1 and hopefully cash that ticket. The one thing that is missing, and I didn't have the heart to text, it just sucks that both you and Pat are Leaf fans, because I like you guys so much. I really did. I was so close to pressing send on a request, which you guys are always great with making happen, on just the simple scenario that one of the teams behind the Leafs jump up and Boston picks at 6 or 7, because it almost seems the way things are going right now that is destined to happen. And every single Leaf fan I know seems to just be bracing for the inevitability that is the case.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I'm not going to boost any other books up. We can absolutely get a lineup for it if people want to bet it, but it is out there. Leafs to basically not get their first round pick or to lose their first round pick. I think it's floating around like a minus 140-ish range. And I know buddies who have already, for them not to get it. Yeah, the way the odds play out is like someone is most likely, it's more likely that someone jumps than not. And in that scenario, if it's not the Leafs, then they're out, right? They're one person jumps like from below that 5 spot, and they'll be out their pick. So
gives us a great idea. I didn't realize that it would have been that chalky. I kind of thought that but yeah, it does make sense now that you say.
Because I think it is like a 58% chance they don't get their first round pick or something like that. So that's kind of how, the odds work in that way. Maybe the book's taking a little bit more juice on that as well. So, you get to minus 140, whatever that is, like probability wise, is kind of answers your question there. Yeah. So I know buddies who have already bet it. They're, preparing for the worst and praying for the best. I don't know if I can go out of my way to bet it. I'm just going to hope that they somehow just stay in the top 5. All my buddies are like, let's win the lottery. I'm like, guys, let's just keep the pick. Like, because this is what's going to happen. Us, like, if they don't get this pick this year, it goes to Boston. I think next year they would get to decide. I don't know how it works. Philly gets one of the next 2 first rounders. Like, they don't have their first rounders in the coming years here. Just getting this top 5 protected, yeah, you might not have your next 2 first rounders, but immediately it's going to help improve your team. Ideally, you're going to bring a guy in who can probably start right away, especially on a team that probably could have used some young juice in the lineup, as we saw throughout the season, injuries, whatever it is. So, yeah, I'm just hoping they keep the pick. I'm not worried about getting that number 1, to be honest with you right now.
Well, I mean, if they do keep the pick, then, you go into a time where you're kind of looking to rebuild, retool without first rounders in the next 2 seasons unprotected, which is also dangerous. But, that's part of the risk that they took so far. As far as the playoffs go, tonight, we've got the Colorado Avalanche and the Minnesota Wild. What an absolutely insane game that we had to start off that series. And, it was so funny. We had the 0-0 epic Game 6 between Pittsburgh and Philly. You had the 0-0 game that went into overtime for Montreal and Tampa. We've been watching these American League games, which have been basically the same thing. 1-0 win, 2-0 loss. And then all of a sudden, you finish up that Game 7 thriller, and there's 15 goals in a game. I thought we might get a total that was like an Oiler game, like 7.5, but no, it's 6.5 tonight. And the Avalanche minus 196, Minnesota plus 165. I actually like the Wild tonight, certainly at this number. I thought that we'd be looking at Minnesota maybe plus 135, plus 140. This is a big, big number, and I'll say this about Minnesota. They had the quick turnaround. Colorado was ready and rested, waiting to play at home. Even as bizarre as that game was, with the Wall letting in 8 goals, Minnesota showed that they can go toe-to-toe with Colorado, and I still think this series is going to be going close to the distance, if not to 7. I kind of like Minnesota tonight, certainly at the number. I think the value is there on the Minnesota money line. What are you thinking?
Yeah, Minnesota showed a lot of fight. I threw that game on, Huss. I think it was 4-3 at the time I threw it on, and I'm like, there's been some action early. Let's see where we go from here. And oh my God, it was unbelievable back and forth action. It was a great watch. I'm with you. Minnesota, I believe, is going to switch up the goaltender tonight. They're going to go with Philip Gustafsson, so just going to get a different look. Obviously, Wallstead ended up letting in, I think, 8 when it was all said and done. So, not an ideal game from him. Give him a rest. See what Gustafsson can give you. Is this a game where you do sprinkle the under after crazy fireworks in game 1? I don't know if I have the cojones to do that. But Minnesota at the number, I think the value is great there, and I'm totally with you. I think, if we were going to build a little parlay here tonight, Huss, I wouldn't mind starting the card with some sort of play on Minnesota.
Well, the funny thing is that the under at 6.5, the under is minus 118. I mean, I wouldn't at all be surprised if this is like 2-1 or 3-1 with an empty netter or something like that. Philip Gustafsson's getting the start for Minnesota. I think that's the smart move for Hines. You know, when you have Wallstedt get lit up the way that he did, I think regardless, you give him the rest. If it doesn't go Gustafsson's way, you can go back to Wallstedt at home in a different environment, needing the win. And, you know, if you did run him back and it goes south on him, then, you know, you're going to Gustafsson, and he's probably your guy for the series. I think this gives them some more options as we go forward. Montreal-Buffalo. Yesterday, when I first saw the line, it dropped as a pick'em at -109 on either side. I kind of thought that maybe Habs fans would just be so horny for the team that this might actually go the other way. But right now, as we do the program, it's Buffalo -120 and Habs even money right now. This is probably a tough and unfair question to you, who probably hates both of those teams as big rivals of the Leafs. It's the worst of two bad options. But where are you at on the series for Buffalo-Montreal that gets going tomorrow night?
Yeah, honestly, like my hatred for the Canadians much outweighs any hatred I have for the Buffalo Sabres. They really haven't been there. You know, this is the first year in a long time that they even made the playoffs. So there isn't a huge situation where, you know, they're a big rival or they've knocked the Leafs out a handful of times. So I'm actually rooting on Buffalo. I think, I know a ton of people who are, Bills fans, including our very own Pat Gregoire. And I think a lot of people are kind of tailing on the city of Buffalo, the people of Buffalo. And God knows I can't get behind the Montreal Canadiens. So, I mean, just from a rooting standpoint, it's Buffalo for me, -120. That's a decent number. Maybe you do wait and see if they lose one at home here, and then maybe you get a better number. But it can also backfire on you. They could take the first two at home. You may never get the -120 again. So, that's something you got to weigh, the risk you got to weigh in your mind. For me, I'm rooting on Buffalo. I think if they went on a run, that wouldn't bother me one bit. There's a few teams out there that I'm a lot more concerned about. Montreal Canadiens winning a Stanley Cup would be a problem for me. The Vegas Golden Knights winning a Stanley Cup would be a big-time problem for me. So I'm just rooting for anyone not named Vegas, Montreal. That's about it, Huss. Like, those two teams are the ones that I'm really rooting against.
Mitch Marner's cup party at Muskoka would not be a popular event happening in the GTA. We got 2 game ones tonight in the NBA. Lakers at OKC. OKC is -2,500 to win this series. They're 15.5-point favorites tonight. I was talking to Dusty earlier today. Big Laker guy. They have beat the Lakers by an average of 29 points this year, and Luka is out. So I'm actually thinking about laying the points with OKC. You probably saw some of Cleveland going up against the Raptors. Pretty thrilling series before it got away from them in the second half of Game 7. Cavs 3.5-point dogs in Detroit against the Pistons, who rallied from being 3 down against the Magic to win the series and move on as the number 1 seed. They are 3.5-point favorites and -154 on the money line. Any thoughts on Cleveland-Detroit Game 1, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one, Huss, honestly. Detroit showed a lot of fight coming back from down 3-1. Cade kind of putting the team on his back. They've been the best team in the East all year, record-wise. I just, I have a hard time backing Detroit with some of the games that they did play against Orlando. And I think they're taking a big step going from the Orlando Magic, who had to do the play-in just to get to the point that they did with the 8th seed, to going to a Cleveland team who, is a little bit more, experience under their belt. You got to remember James Harden, he might not be great late in series, but early on, he's usually pretty solid for his, teams. Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen had an unbelievable game again in Game 7 against the Raptors. So I think I lean with Cleveland here for Game 1. You get in the 3.5. I think we could see this close to, if Cleveland finds a way to win Game 1, I think we could see it close to a pick'em for Game 2. So, I'd probably take the 3 points with Cleveland and see if they can win it outright. But that's kind of my lean for that one.
What about a Pistons money line? like for them just to get the job done. They, I mean, the other thing is we could look at Cade Cunningham. I'm kind of thinking about we put the OKC at minus 15.5 and the Wild. And then can we get something from this game to make it a 3-gamer? I mean, the OKC spread and Wild is plus 406. Do we want to go like Cade Cunningham minus 106 for over 28.5? I'm not really familiar enough with the rest of the guys. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. What's the Harden number?
Yeah, I mean, Cade's obviously been real solid. He went 45, 32, 32 in 3 straight here. You know, it kind of seems like his – what's his 3-pointer number? Sorry, it's bad radio right now.
Well, we can look up a couple things. The Harden number, 19.5. Over 19.5 is minus 104. I'm thinking either. I do sort of like the Pistons. Like I just feel like there might be a bit of a letdown for the Cavs. They really had to gut that one out. And I think there's momentum with the Pistons. And let's face it, they learn a bit of a lesson as to losing game 1 at home, what that means. So that's kind of why I'm with you. The spread does freak me out because I could see this being a close game. But when it comes down to it, I think I kind of lean Cade Cunningham and the Pistons to get the win. And if we put that in at minus 154, it's actually plus 734 before a boost.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely roll that. Listen, I'm not, like I said, I'm not like hell bent on the Cavs tonight. That was just my lean in terms of the spread. But yeah, if we're gonna play a money line, that's fine. Pistons at home. I do think they've learned a lesson. Like I don't think they're just going to roll over here to the Cavs. I think that, you know, going down 3-1 to Orlando, coming back, you know, on the back of Cade Cunningham, they play great defense. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of what Cleveland has to offer. And, you know, are we going to see 6 or 7 games in that series as well? I guess we'll find out.
All right, well, let's cook this up. And I'm sure this could actually probably go in the combo cards for tonight. Pistons money line, Wild money line, OKC minus 15.5. And we'll probably get that one close to around or even above 8-1 by the time the boys take care of that. So we'll have that up in the combo cards. Now, Jake, before we go, I mentioned this yesterday on the program, but I mean, a ton of great promos at Coolbet, but 2 in particular that I think Canadian sports fans will love. We've got the soccer trip of a lifetime and round 2 of the greatest golf giveaway I have ever heard of. You and 3 buddies going to the greatest courses in Canada, Cabot Links and Cabot Cliffs. Just before we go, give a quick plug to what people need to be opting in for before they place their bets at Coolbet.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you haven't made an account at Coolbet, I'd say May 2026 is a great month to get in on the action. You know, it's only the 5th right now. So all of May, we're running a what we're calling the Vancouver Voyage. So basically, for every $25 I think you spend in the sportsbook, every $50 you spend in the casino, you're in 1 raffle ticket. Your raffle tickets stack up all month long. And at the end of the month, we do a big raffle draw. And you and 1 other, so you and a guest, will go out to Vancouver to see Canada play Switzerland at the World Cup. You know, you get hotel if necessary, you know, depending on where you are. If you're a Winnipegger, you get a hotel, you get flights out there, and then you get 2, I believe they're hospitality tickets to the Canada versus Switzerland game. Could be a big time game as well. It could be deciding for that group. So yeah, it's a monster promo, and that one's running, you know, in all month. So I'd say get in now. The earlier you get in on that, the better odds you have collecting raffle tickets. The promo code for that one is Voyage26, VOYAGE 26. You just click the bonus code, you submit that, and you're opted in. The other one we're running is the Cabot one. And yeah, you mentioned already, Huss, we ran this last year, but yeah, it's similar to raffle draw, but you'll actually get points for this one. And this year we switched it up. So, you know, you place a bet on golf. Say you place a $25 bet on golf. That would usually correspond to 1 point. But golf, in this specific campaign has a 5x multiplier. So you're actually going to get 5 points for that. Where areas, if you bet on the NHL playoffs tonight after opting in, you're only going to get 2 times the points for betting on the NHL. So you can go to the campaign page. The promo code for that one is CABOT26, CABOT 26. And you can see all the different multipliers there. I believe there's hockey, basketball, golf, tennis, all the summer sports, baseball, some casino games in there as well. You collect points using those multipliers, and then you work your way up. That one runs from now, start of May, all the way to the end of August. So you can be collecting points all summer long, and then at the end of August, we'll do the draw, and then we're sending the grand prize winner and 3 guests out to Cabot. You get, I believe, 3 nights stay, all included meals, 3 rounds of golf, I believe. So it's an unbelievable time. We got a chance to go out there last year, and if you've ever wanted to go to Cabot, or you wanted an awesome buddies trip, we're taking care of it for you. You just got to get your raffle tickets in, get your points, and hopefully by the end of it, the draw calls your name, and you're heading out to Cabot with some friends.
You literally could not put together a better golf trip in Canada than going out to Cabot for 3 days. Just on this, golf bets, and Patty and I will be making some picks tomorrow. You get 5 times points for golf. Lacrosse, Patty will have some picks on that as well tomorrow. MMA and horse racing is 4 times. Soccer, baseball, and CFL 3 times. And then hockey, basketball, and slot games are 2, and 1 for tennis and table games. So simply just go to the promo code, click on them. It'll take you right there. You just opt in and then press submit. That's all you need to do. And then you are good to go. Jake, you are just about good to go. Have an awesome trip. Hope you guys have a great time. I will look forward to hearing all about your travels and talking more with you at the end of the month when you return. Have a great one. And we'll look forward to catching up with Patty tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Huss, and we'll chat when I'm back.
You got it. Take care. There's Jake Bolan-Moss at Jake Bolan-Moss. And, of course, if you are signing up at CoolBet, use the promo code WST. Hook you up with a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. Remo, what do you think about that 12-1 on the Jets for the number 1 pick tonight?
I mean, their odds are 6.5%. If they're going to get it, you might as well, get something on it. So it's gambling for a reason, Hustler. So sure, why not go ahead and wager on the
I'm
NHL?
putting 20. I've got a 20 down on the Jets.
I do find it more fun to wager if the Leafs get out of or get into the top 5, or sorry, get out of the top 5 and lose the pick. That's fun. I like that one as well. But the Jets aren't in the playoffs, so they are in the draft lottery. So why not have some fun there? So they do have team to receive the first overall pick. Exciting stuff.
Well, we'll I'm sure be doing some Sims. Maybe we won't do any Sims. Maybe we'll just talk. But folks, today, Connor and I are going live at 6 at the start of the draft lottery through the proceedings. So for those of you that enjoy the YouTube chat, we'll react live to it all. We'll discuss everything that's happening with the moving up and moving down of all the teams. We'll talk about some of the players that will likely be picked with those selections tonight. And we'll be doing it live on YouTube at 6 o'clock. So please, if you're going to be kicking around at home or just having it on the tube, throw us on and enjoy hanging out with us on WST for a live watch along of the 2026 draft lottery. And let's hope it can feel like 2016 again around here with the Jets moving up in it. You want to, let's see how long it takes for us to get into the top 2 to finish the show today.
Okay, let's see. There's 2 draws, for the second pick and the first pick, and the Jets have 6.5% chance at either of them. And they did put out a press release with their numbers. So it's like 4 numbers. There's 1,000 different combinations, and the Jets have 65. So we'll see. It's because they are doing the draft live. The lottery live. So Vancouver, then St. Louis moved up in this simulation. We don't want
Yeah, that not great. And Jets moved to 8 in that one.
Right. And then we'll do it again. Chicago Rangers. So, we had the teams move up last year with Utah moving to 2 and the Islanders moving up to 1. Is this a year where it stays kind of the same, or do we have some variance where the Jets move up? Wouldn't that be lovely? Don't want to see Florida move up.
No. Florida cannot.
We don't
cannot
want that.
move up.
Man, St. Louis, they're a team to watch. They have a couple first-round picks, do they not? They have Detroit's pick, and they have their own pick. I thought they had one more, but I don't think so. Oh, yeah, they have Colorado's pick, too. So, man, they're really set up.
3 first-rounders.
Nicely here.
Okay, well, maybe we do have to put St. Louis back up in the... We don't want them to win the lottery. I guess if the Detroit pick won, that would only move up to 5.
Detroit, yeah, they can only move up 10 spots. So,
all right, give us another. Let's see how many times it takes for us to get to Jets.
No,
not that one. Rangers, Vancouver. Jets stay at 7. Canucks, Florida. Okay, get that one out of the.
Yeah, that's not great.
Leafs, Vancouver, Chicago, Rangers, Calgary. Jets don't miss there.
Vancouver won. How do you feel about Vancouver winning? I think the fans want it, but I don't know if it's... I'm enjoying watching them squirm and the fans getting annoyed with ownership. It's been entertaining from afar.
I wouldn't really care. I mean, put it this way. They're not in my top 5 of teams I don't want. I don't want San Jose. They'll be a real problem moving forward for a good portion of time. Nashville, yeah, I could do without that.
San Jose.
Oh, Sharks at 1 would not be good.
Florida, man, we've got Florida like twice here. San Jose a couple times. Nashville, no Jets, who are all below. There's Calgary. Be nice for Calgary to get number 1.
Yeah, Calgary. I mean, that's a team that I think kind of would really deserve it. They've done a good job of, making the most, I think, out of most of their, the trades that they've been sort of forced to make. They've got multiple firsts and seconds, I think, for the next 3 years as they go into their new building in a couple of years. So overall, they're in some pretty good company. Certainly in a better spot than a lot of other of the Canadian teams. There we go. Winnipeg at 2. We'll take that. Vancouver 1, Winnipeg 2. Chicago, Rangers, Calgary, and then with the Jets moving up to 2, the Leafs move down.
Toronto moves down.
And Boston gets the 6th pick overall in the draft. So, gang, join us today if you're available, 6 p.m. till probably 6:45, 6:50, whenever it's done. I mean, if the Jets win, we could have a celebration stream that goes a little bit longer, but you know where to find us right here on the YouTube of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Myself and Connor live at the top of the 6 o'clock hour to take you through the draft lottery festivities. Fun show today. Great conversation with John Shannon. Awesome stuff with Jeff Hamilton. Love having the hammer on. Andrew Collier, Jake Bolan Moss. That is going to do it for us. But just a quick timeout, because in about 2 hours and 45 minutes, we'll be sweating out the draft lottery right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Hope you join us. Thanks, obviously, to the guest, Michael Remis, and all of the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. All of you podcast listeners, and, of course, everyone with us live on YouTube. Hopefully, we'll see you in a few hours at 6 for a draft lottery sweat. If not, we'll catch you tomorrow to break it all down in the aftermath of the lottery and where the Winnipeg Jets pick on tomorrow's edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a great night. Keep your fingers crossed for the next 3 hours.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.